and thank you for attending tonight's forum for the candidates for offices of Carroll County Circuit Court Clerk and Judge Executive. Tonight's forum is sponsored by the News Democrat and Carroll County High School FFA. I am Jeff Moore, publisher of the News Democrat, and will serve as your moderator. Working with me to assist tonight with monitoring Facebook and other items that are going on is News Democrat editor Kristen Beck, and I'm also assisted with timing by FFA Secretary Clara Tuttle. We will begin this evening with the Circuit Court Clerk candidates, to be followed by the Judge Executive candidates. I would like to briefly review the format and rules for tonight's forum. Prior to the start of tonight's event, the candidates drew the order in which they are seated. None of the candidates have seen or had access to any of the questions prior to the event. The News Democrat staff developed the questions that we are asking tonight, and we may have others that are submitted by the audience that we've reviewed. Chris and I took a look at those and have determined which ones will be posed to the candidates. We will begin with a 1-minute introduction, which will be followed by questions. They will be assigned time limits on each question between 1 and 2 minutes. For the candidates, the green light will come on with a 20-second warning, followed by a red light with a 5-second warning. When the red light goes off, your time is up. Please stay within your time limits, candidates, so I don't have to stop you. Our goal is to spend about 30 minutes with the 2 candidates for Circuit Court Clerk and 90 minutes with the 4 contenders for Judge Executive. We will get through as many questions as possible during the time we have set for each race. At the end of each segment, candidates for that race will have 90 seconds for closing remarks. We will have a brief rebuttal period that will be offered after the closing remarks if necessary in the event one of the challengers raises a new issue. The time is for rebuttal only and no new issues can be discussed. For the audience, we ask you refrain from clapping or making any noise during the forum. We will reserve time at the end for applause to thank the candidates for their time and participation. So let's get started. In the first segment, we have the race for Carroll County Circuit Court Clerk. Both of the Democratic candidates for the nomination are with us this evening, Todd Yocum and Gloria Belcher. Mr. Yocum won the drawing before we got started and will go first. We will rotate, allowing each candidate to go first throughout the segment. The opening statements now. This is 1 minute. Mr. Yocum, you can begin.
As Jeff said, my name's Todd Yocum. I've been a lifelong Carroll County resident, except for a few years I lived in Bedford. Went to school here, US 42 school, Carroll County Middle School, graduated from Carroll County High School in 1984. Attended the University of Kentucky, graduated from the University of Kentucky in 1988, come back home and went to work for Safety Clean, worked for North American Stainless, and I've been at Ford Motor Company in Louisville the last 25 years. The reason I'm running for this job, I want to come home to the county. I've lived here. I'm not planning on moving or going anywhere else. I want to come home and help the county and try and do better things for the community through the clerk's office and address some of the issues we have here in the county. Look forward to that. I look forward to working closer in the county and not traveling to Louisville every day. Thank you.
Ms. Belcher.
Hi, I'm Gloria Belcher, and I have lived here in Carroll County for the past 25 years. Me and my husband moved up here in 1993 with the construction company he worked for. I have 2 children, Brittany and Blake Belcher. Brittany is 27, Blake is 17. Brittany graduated from Carroll County High School, and Blake is a senior to graduate this year. I have worked in the clerk's office for the past 17 years. Layman had called about 5 months into his term and asked me if I would come to work there, and I've been there ever since. I feel that I am very knowledgeable and experienced in the office. I'm always there, go above and beyond what the office calls for me to do. I've been called out weekends, nights, and I just look forward to serving you as the next Carroll County Circuit Clerk.
Okay, thank you. We'll begin with the first question, and Ms. Belcher, you'll get that to start. The Circuit Court Clerk is charged with managing and coordinating large amounts of information that comes in from many different directions, such as law enforcement, attorneys, local residents, and judges. And those judges, of course, are elected too. Please share with us what, in your experience and background, makes you the most qualified person for voters to select for this job. You have 90 seconds.
I feel like I am the most qualified because of my experience working there 17 years. When I first started in the clerk's office, I worked mainly district court. I was bench clerk for both district judges, probably 12, 13 years. When Susan, the prior chief deputy, resigned, I was asked to take over circuit court. I worked under Judge Bates as his bench clerk, and now up until January when I had to resign to be able to run for the job, I was bench clerk for Judge Knight. I'm very well trained, cross-trained throughout the office. Although my main job was to do circuit court cases, the criminal cases, the civil cases, I was always there to assist the other girls with district court, district cases, traffic cases, mental health, any case that came through the office, I pretty much have had a hand in. The girls always kind of referred to me as their go-to person. If Layman wasn't there, they had a question, they always came to me. If I didn't know the answer, I looked it up in the clerk's manual. I called a neighboring clerk, somebody that could assist. I wasn't afraid to call AOC office to ask for questions. I called legal. Any way I could to get the answer for whoever was needing that question answered. I went above and beyond to try to get that.
Okay. Mr. Yocum, do you need the question repeated or?
Please.
Okay. The Circuit Court Clerk is charged with managing and coordinating large amounts of information that comes in from many different directions. Law enforcement, attorneys, local residents, judges, and of course they're elected too. That just names a few. Please share with us what in your experience and background makes you the most qualified for voters to select for this job. You have 90 seconds.
Well, I feel like being educated, being a leader, there's a staff there to put in place to work with the public, work with the judges, police officers, so forth and so on, and handle the matters of just running the office, being the clerk, being there for people that go through the judicial process. It's a tough process on people throughout different walks of life, regardless of what they're doing. When you go through the court process, it's taxing on the individual. Working with whoever, police, just making sure that the office runs, the staff polite and courteous to the people that come in there that's going through whatever they need to be in the courtroom, and just working with the different counties around, speeding tickets, things like that, the people that they're enduring, whether it's just knowing people and dealing with people. I feel like that'll be a plus to be the Carroll County Circuit Clerk.
Okay, thank you. You'll get to go first this time. This next question, you'll have 2 minutes. Much work in the Circuit Court Clerk's office is handled by its deputies. Please share your plans for the staffing of the office and your plans for the current staff that works there. Additionally, provide us with details on your experience with managing personnel. Mr. Yocum, you have 2 minutes.
Well, I feel like the staff that works for Layman's did a great job being the Circuit Court Clerk for many years. The staff he has working there, I have no problem with anybody that's worked there. I've been to the court, I've been there and talked to Layman. The staff's always treated me, they've been courteous and polite, and I see no problems with anybody that works in there. I'll expect the same thing out of them if I'm Circuit Clerk. as far as hiring, would do the same process, hire the best available people to work for, and provide in the office, just hire the best people for the job and their best qualifications, and have them do the job as the law states. That job's basically set up. You have to follow the law, and that's what I would expect for them to do, as well as myself.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Belcher, do you need the question repeated, or are you ready to go with it? Would you like me to repeat it? Okay. Much work in the Circuit Court Clerk's office is handled by its deputies. Please share your plans for the staffing of the office and your plans for the current staff that works there. Additionally, provide us with details on your experience in managing personnel. And you have 2 minutes.
As of the staffing, nothing pretty much would change with that. There has been, all the girls is pretty much cross-trained within the office. They know their job. There will be probably changes coming in the future when one is looking to retire, which she is a bookkeeper right now in the office, and there's already been placement trying to move that forward to be able to take over that position once she retires. I've worked very closely with these 6 women for the past 17 years, some a little bit shorter. We have a good relationship. They know they can come to me as they do or did prior. Anytime there was a concern, they usually brought it to me. If not, Layman, of course, he was always there to ask questions to or whatever, but sometimes you feel like more one-on-one with somebody other than your boss, be your coworker. Staffing has never been an issue with there. We all get along. We've all been supported with each other through whatever job we were doing. I feel like they can count on me. They know that I would never ask them to do anything that I would not do myself. If elected as clerk, I plan to work right along the side of them. There's clerks that go into circuit court. They do the circuit criminal cases. They work. It's a working position. It's not micromanaging the girls in the office. I feel like if I'm the clerk, we've had a working clerk the 17 years that I've been there, and will continue to do that. Anything that they need, I would wait on the counter, be there for anybody that needs me. It's not just being the circuit clerk, it's also being their coworker for anything that they might need within the office. Any trainings they might need, they know to come to me, and they would get it done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Belcher, you'll get to go first on this next question. This is another 2-minute question. Here it is. The clerk's work provides support for the county's court system. Tell us about your experience with trials and other court proceedings, and in what capacity that was. Ms. Belcher, 2 minutes.
Over the past 17 years, I have sat through many jury trials. You're there to assist the judge, the attorneys, you mark their exhibits, anything that they need within the courtroom during the trial, you're there to keep the record for them, you video, record. I sat through a pretty intense trial here a couple years ago. We had a special prosecutor, and actually she had written a letter to Layman about my professionalism and thanking me for helping within that trial, which was sent to HR in Frankfurt in my personnel record, which I was pretty proud of, but it gets intense sometimes when you're sitting there listening to some of the trials, and your main goal is to keep the record, to make sure everything is being recorded, everything is being logged down, your exhibits are being marked, and in case there's an appeal of that trial, the circuit clerk's responsibility is to keep that record intact the way it's presented in the trial.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Yocum, do you need the question repeated? Okay. The clerk's work provides support for the county's court system. Tell us about your experience with trials or other court proceedings, and in what capacity that was. You have 2 minutes.
Well, the only problem with that question with me is I've worked in a factory, so I haven't ever been in the trial. I haven't been in, had a trial for me, or haven't been involved in that. I've worked in the public sector, so I haven't been working in the courthouse. But there's policies and procedures that the clerk and the deputy clerks follow. As with technology today, everything's recorded. And basically it comes down to following the procedures that are set by the state laws of Kentucky, the county, and just have to follow the laws that are on the book. And as far as the trials and stuff, that stuff's recorded, and just make sure that it's all followed by the laws.
Okay, thank you. You'll get to go first again this time. The next question is for 90 seconds. That's your limit. Much of the work the circuit clerk's office does is mandated and overseen by the administrative office of the courts. Having successfully passed the testing to be a circuit court clerk, please share some of the areas that would be under your control that you believe you could improve, streamline, or change for the better. You have 2 minutes.
Well, the circuit...
I'm sorry, that's 90 seconds. I apologize. 90 seconds.
Well, the circuit court clerk office is set up. The 3 manuals that I had to study for that, which was 1,200 pages, basically outlines everything that you do, what the staff's required to do by the law, by the AOC. It was a real rigorous exam, but all that is set up in manuals, and I mean, there's guidelines for everybody to follow, and it's pretty much, there's not much leeway there. I mean, there's some things you can do to improve, but mostly you have to follow the laws and the guidelines that are set up within those manuals to run the circuit court clerk's job, and what the deputy clerks do as well.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Belcher, would you like me to repeat, or do you have the question?
I think I got it.
Okay, you have 90 seconds.
As far as the way the office is ran, AOC is pretty much over setting policies, procedures, how things are done within the office. As a clerk itself, there's things that he or she could do on their own. Cross-training is a big thing and has always been a big thing within our office. Each girl usually has a main, I guess you could say, area that they work within, district court, circuit court, mental health, juveniles, driver's license. We've all been pretty much cross-trained in those areas. Some work more in one area than the other, but that is upon the clerk to position those girls or men. I keep referring to girls because that's all we've had in the offices I've worked there, but men or women that's working in the office as deputies, they see fit to which they work better in which areas. Like, we've had a bookkeeper there. She's been there 21 years. She's very knowledgeable in our bookkeeping. She's pretty much the only one besides her backup that does bookkeeping, mainly because of the money coming in the office. I've always been told and taught the clerk doesn't put his hands, less hands within the money, the better, to make no mistakes as far as the money goes. Lunches, we have to work out lunch times. The clerk sets our lunch, leaves it up to us, but we try to go by what he says about lunchtime. So there are things that he could do himself.
Okay, time. Thank you. Okay. The next question starts with Ms. Belcher. You have 90 seconds. The Circuit Court Clerk's office handles more than $1 million a year in a fiscal year. Share with us your expertise with accounting that enables you to manage large sums such as this. Ms. Belcher, you have 90 seconds.
As far as the money that comes in the office, the majority of our money comes in from fines, fees, costs, restitution. There's some lawsuits that they make them pay up front to us that they hold in a special account. As far as the bookkeeping and handling the money, like I said prior, there's usually a bookkeeper that is paid a grade higher. That's their responsibility, is to manage the money, to balance the books, to balance the bank statements each month. They do reconcile the record, had to send in reports. That's mainly on the bookkeeper, which the clerk does overlook that. He has to sign off on the reports. We've all pitched in if we're been negative or positive in the office. We all try to figure out why. We go back through our receipts. Driver's licensing is kept in a separate cash drawer that she breaks down at the end of the day. The bail bonds that come in is kept in a separate cash drawer. We collect for several counties bond monies. But that is pretty much the responsibility of the bookkeeper. Over the years, Layman's let her do her job. She does it well. There's never been an issue since I've been in the office with the money. And like I said, the clerk's responsibility is overseeing that she's doing the job that she's supposed to be doing and signing off on her reports.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Yocum, you'll have 90 seconds. Do you want me to repeat the question for you?
Please.
Okay. The Circuit Court Clerk's Office handles more than $1 million in a fiscal year. Share with us your expertise with accounting that enables you to manage large sums of money such as this. 90 seconds.
Well, my understanding of the clerk's office, once again, I have to refer back to the manuals that I studied to take the test, and it basically has a process to where there's accounting. I'm good with figures. I'm good with, I had accounting classes at college, but it's basically, you have to do a daily accounting of the ledger, the money that comes in, make sure the books balance on a daily, a weekly, and you have to file a monthly report, and just to make sure that those balance on the daily, the weekly, and the monthly time periods. And that way, if you have audits or whatever, as long as all the books balance, it sort of takes care of itself.
Okay, thank you. You'll get this next question first. We have 2 more we'll do before we go to closing remarks, and we'll do 60 seconds for each of these, so a minute each, since time is getting away from us. The circuit clerk deals with a lot of citizens on a daily basis. Some of them are not happy with the decisions that are made by the court. Share with us what you would tell a person and how you would handle a situation. Mr. Yocum, you have a minute.
Being a lifelong Carroll County and knowing the people that come through the court system, I feel like I'm good with handling. It's basically you have to use a common sense approach with the people that come through there. I've always been good with talking with people, understanding the issues that they have, and just try and make and be a liaison between the court and the people that are dealing with it, and just explain to them and basically be polite and courteous with them, but explain to them what the law and what the rulings are, and just basically deal with the people on a person-to-person basis, and just try and help them with the court process is hard on people, and just try and be as polite and courteous, and have your staff do the same thing with them during a difficult time.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Belcher, would you like me to repeat the question? No. Okay. You have 1 minute.
The court system is a very trying on a lot of people. We've had people come in, they're going through divorces or whatsoever. They come in, they're angry, they shout out at you, think it's your fault. Out of my experience, I have always sat down and tried to talk to them, explain to them what the judge has done. A lot of times they go into court, they don't understand what is being said, is what is being done. All they hear is, 10 years, 5 years, that their family or loved ones are going to jail. They come in angry. So I've always taken an approach that I would want to be treated as if it was me on the other side of the counter, not knowing anything about the court system. I take time to pull the files. I'll go over the file with them, explain to them what is being done, and as long as it's within the scope of the law. We're not allowed to give legal advice, but I try to lead them in the right direction to get their answers, if I can't answer them, that they need.
Okay, thank you. Last question. You'll get to go first, Ms. Belcher. And this will be another 60-second question. The circuit court clerk is trusted with a lot of information. Some of it is confidential. You're talking with a good friend and a topic comes up that you've dealt with in the office. How do you ensure that you do not let your guard down and accidentally share a detail that is confidential? Ms. Belcher, you have 60 seconds.
It has always been my belief, the way I was taught when I came in the office, nothing is discussed about a case, whether it's confidential or not, outside, the four walls that we work in. Confidential cases, even with my children being in a school, nothing is ever mentioned outside of the office about a juvenile case. There's been people that have messaged me or come up to me asking me about a certain case, and I just tell them what I've always been taught. I'm not allowed to discuss that. It's illegal for me to discuss it. It's confidential. If there's a case going on, I'm not allowed to talk about it. That's just been my experience and the way I was trained and what has been said to me. A lot of people respect you when you work there. They know. I've not had too many, but I have had people come and ask me. I just tell them that I'm not allowed to discuss it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Yocum, you'll have 60 seconds. Would you like the question repeated? Okay. The circuit court clerk is trusted with a lot of information, some of it confidential. You're talking with a good friend and a topic comes up that you've dealt with in the office. How do you ensure that you do not let your guard down and accidentally share a detail that is confidential? 60 seconds.
Well, I believe the best process with that is, like Gloria said, just basically leave work at work. You don't discuss any case outside of the court, at the courthouse, and if you take that process, then you don't have an issue with discussing individual cases outside. If you don't discuss any, I've worked at the Ford Motor Company and been a union rep, and when we speak to people, we speak in confidence, and it's just one of those processes that once you talk to somebody in a confidential manner, you don't discuss their issue or case besides with them. And the guidelines of the circuit clerk's office is set up with confidentiality where it is illegal, and that's stated. So the best process is not to discuss any cases, let alone the confidential ones.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on now to the closing remarks, and each of you will have 90 seconds to wrap up, and then if anything new is raised during that, we'll have a brief time just to rebut, if that's needed. It may not be. So we'll determine that after you speak. So, Mr. Yocum, you get to begin. You have 90 seconds.
Well, I would just like to tell the voters of Carroll County and the people of Carroll County, I would really like to see strong voter turnout. My desire is to come home and work here in the county with the people. I've been here. I've coached Little League. My wife's a teacher, Catherine Wynn. My family's real supportive in the community with youth, with just people in general. I'm a Carroll County-ian. I'm proud of that. People at the Ford Motor Company, I've got 9,000 people down there I work with, and everybody knows that about me, that I'm proud to be from Carroll County. I plan on staying in Carroll County, and I want to come home and help the people of Carroll County and hopefully improve the county, which the county needs that a lot. We've discussed that you have to work with the people that come through the court system, and it's a difficult process in all facets, regardless of why you're there. And just want to come home and work with the people of the county and hopefully improve this county for people who live here now and for people that may be looking to move here or live here, just make it a better place altogether for everybody involved.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Belcher, your closing remarks. You have 90 seconds.
First of all, I'd like to thank all of y'all for your time for coming out tonight to listen to our answers, questions, and concerns. If elected as your clerk, I will continue to run the office that I have worked in for the past 17 years with integrity, honesty, and dedication as it has been installed in me as working there as a deputy clerk. I will be there for the people that come into the office at the counter. I would work first line. I will be a working clerk. I would be there for any questions. Like I said before, as a deputy clerk, I've got called out at nights. I've got called out on weekends to do driver's license, to assist the county attorney. That's just who I am, and I will continue to do that for the citizens of Carroll County. Not only, I mean, we deal with a lot of out-of-state, that come into the town. They don't know anybody, and we meet them at the counter. I just feel like, with my experience, I would be the best one for the job.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to thank both of you, Mr. Yocum and Ms. Belcher, for your time this evening and coming out and taking part in our forum, which is presented by the News Democrat and the Carroll County High School FFA. Again, thank you, Mr. Todd Yocum and Ms. Gloria Belcher. Please, if you would, join me and let's give them a round of applause. We'll take a break for about 10 to 15 minutes. Food is available out in the lobby from the FFA.